What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. Today we're talking Never Let Go. This is a new psychological horror film starring Halle Berry. I purposefully waited a few days before reviewing this because honestly I was feeling pretty mixed on it when I walked out of the theater. It's directed by Alexander Aja. I like this filmmaker. He made 2019's Crawl as well as the early 2000s Piranha 3D, I think. Come on, those were both fun creature features that knew exactly what they were. This is a lot more serious. It's got a darker tone. It's rated R, which I didn't know going into. I figured it was kind of a PG-13 entry-level horror film, but there's actually some pretty intense stuff in it. Halle Berry stars as the mother. You don't even ever learn her name, to the best of my knowledge. Of two sons named Sam and Nolan. They live out in the middle of the forest because, according to her, years ago, there was a massive apocalyptic event, and now evil roams these forests in some form that we don't know of yet. But their house is made from love, so they're safe there, and in order to remain safe when they go out to forage for food and other items, they have to tie a rope around themselves in order to stay protected from this evil. But those are words coming from her mouth, so her kids are just believing her at face value. A lot of the supernatural stuff that we see in the first half of this movie is seen from her perspective, so there's an element of paranoia here too, and this film does a good job of keeping the audience on their toes as to whether or not this evil even exists at all. Is it all a figment of her imagination or a manifestation of past trauma that she is now passing down onto her children? Is there no apocalypse at all? These are a lot of questions that the film continually presents at you and subverts your expectations. It provides just enough for you to constantly second guess yourself when you think you figured it out. Because of that, I think the first hour or so of this movie is quite engaging, and it does a good job of making you care for the characters. Halle Berry is great, but these two sons actually take the center. They excel. They have a lot to do, and these two young actors both do a good job. I will say the movie leans much more into psychological terror than it does mainstream horror. Like, this movie's not scary. It has a few jump scares, but some of the stuff in terms of the monsters and combination of CGI and practical effects didn't work fully. Some of it works, and the movie does know how to build atmosphere, but when they actually show some of these monsters and manifestations of this evil, I thought some of them were silly looking, but that's just me. But it does excel in creating an atmosphere that makes you uncomfortable because you think there might be something out there, but you can't always see it, and you don't even know if it's real. And even if it's not real, it's still a pretty messed up situation for these kids to be raised in isolation. Great original score, too. I'm not sure who the composer is, but he did a fantastic job. Also, I think it's worth noting that I like when directors find these simple premises that work great in a horror environment. They throw the characters in and then find ways for the characters to be put in peril based on the rules. For instance, this movie's main gimmick is you have to tie a rope around yourself whenever you venture away from the house. Similar to A Quiet Place, you have to be quiet or the monsters will kill you. Bird Box, you have to keep a blindfold on because if you look at the monsters, they'll kill you. I Am Legend, you can go outside anytime but night because at night, the monsters are free to attack you, and you don't have the daylight on your side. I really like how they found ways to put the characters in a situation where they're tempted to take the rope off or are forced to, and you're left with that suspense of worrying about what's going to show up when they do so. And to give this movie even more credit, at about the halfway point, something happened that I did not expect whatsoever, and it kind of made me go, oh wow, I wonder where this is going to go next. This is not what I was expecting from this film. But as the third act progressed, I continually asked myself, how are they going to wrap this up in a reasonable amount of time and make it satisfying? And as the time went on, I became more and more nervous, and then the ending came along, and I was like, yeah, that's a pretty dissatisfying way to go. This is one of those movies that does eventually give you answers to some of the burning questions that you have, but they're so vague and poorly constructed that it almost feels like this was an alternate ending that they tacked on. As usual, I gotta tiptoe around spoilers, so it's difficult to really express what about the ending bugged me, but it was super vague, doesn't give you enough answers about what's going on, and it's just dissatisfying in the way that it takes something from an earlier point in the film and tries to use it to imply what happens after the ending of the film. And I wish we could have just seen it instead. And when you're watching a movie in which the buildup is really good and the payoff sucks, even though that payoff is a small portion of the film, it matters more because it's what you've been building towards. So there's a lot of craft on display in this film. It's well directed, it's well acted. I think the tension is generally well constructed, but the ending soured me. And over these last couple days that I've been thinking about it, I just don't think I can let that go. I just made a pun without even intending to. So I'm gonna give Never Let Go 2.5 stars. It's pretty mediocre, but you could definitely stream it when it comes out on VOD and have yourself a pretty decent time, and who knows, maybe people will like the vague ending. I've gravitated towards films of that nature in the past, namely Alex Garland's Men, which is a super ambiguous movie that is very existential and thematic over actual storytelling, and I liked it. Most people didn't, so this is the complete reverse. It seems like audiences are generally thinking this film is decent. If you're super interested, go to the theater and come to your own conclusion. As always, be sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. I'll catch you guys in the next one. See you later.